Today on the I Guess I'm a 1990s Dad Says podcast, I am going to be discussing adding corrective notes to published YouTube videos, why I do the tests that I do in my mic reviews, and other stuff too, so go ahead and stick around. Let's start with the announcement that you're now able to add corrective notes to videos, and this is something that I learned from Renee Ritchie over on Twitter, which is always something I find super interesting. I learn about features, I learn about YouTube news, I learn about issues on Twitter, and not on YouTube. YouTube really should develop better communication methods on their platform so I don't have to use Twitter to get this information, because I don't want to, I don't want to use X. But Renee Ritchie, who is the YouTube liaison, put out a tweet a couple of weeks ago, and in this tweet he said, "Not enough creators know about corrections, but they're a great way to add a pop-up and quick text fix to your videos." Then he provides step-by-step instructions on how to add corrections to your video. Number 1, sign into YouTube Studio. 2, from the left menu, select Content. 3, click the video that you'd like to edit. 4, in the description, start a new line of text and add correction : or corrections : Please note, this trigger word must currently be in English, regardless of the language of the video of the rest of the description. 5, then on a new line, add a timestamp that corresponds to the beginning of the first error in the video. Next to the timestamp, provide a text explanation of your correction. 6, repeat on new lines for additional corrections. I also want to point out that Renee responded to MKBHD and he said, if you have chapters as well, put corrections after them. That is all the information that I got off of Twitter, but I tried it out on the last episode of the BSP. Everything seems to be functioning properly. It works as it should. I did notice a little bit of a quirk though. When you're adding your timestamps, for instance, 00:00, if you add a space, then a dash, then a space, then the correction, this feature did not work for me. So in order to get this to work, I had to say 00:00 space and then type the correction. Adding the dash made it not function. So I just wanted to point that out in case you are trying to use this feature and it's not working for you. Don't add a dash in between the timestamp and the correction. But when you have this enabled, when you add a correction, a card pops up in the upper left or right hand corner. I can never figure it out. And it says view correction. Then when you click on that card, it will open up the description and scroll down so that you're able to read the text-based correction at that portion in the video. I think this is perfectly fine. It's a decent implementation. Is it my favorite? No. As far as corrections, I think the best way to implement corrections was the old annotations feature. I understand why they don't do that. Annotations is where you would have a text box pop up on the video, and it kind of forced a viewer to see what the correction was. The reason I'm saying I understand why they don't have that anymore is if you were on YouTube 2015 to 2017 or 18, you came across videos that abuse this. It was way too easy to abuse to promote stuff, to say, hey, check out my new video, go to this website, do this, and you would have videos that were completely covered. The entire video was covered by these pop-up annotations. Made for a terrible viewing experience on certain videos, but I do think that was the best way to add a correction because it didn't have any additional actions for the viewer. This is a second best in my opinion. The third best would be adding a pinned comment saying, hey, correction. But having this pop up on the screen say, hey, there's a correction at this part in the video, it's good because now somebody knows there's a correction, but the reason it's number 2 for me is it takes a click from the viewer, and as soon as you add an action to the viewer, it's gonna be less likely to be effective. But I still think this is better than nothing. I still think this is pretty good, and I still think it's awesome that YouTube continues to develop. They continue to make these new features and let us know about them. And I think this does make it better to be a creator or a YouTuber, because one of the most anxiety-inducing things about making YouTube videos, especially tech videos or information-based videos, is getting something wrong. And if you don't have an effective way to let people know of incorrect information that needs to be updated, that can cause more anxiety. So having the ability to add a pop-up that says, hey, something's wrong here, click here to find out what it was, and you can see the correction, I think that's a positive for creators, for YouTubers, and for YouTube, and viewers, for everybody involved. So I think it's a good thing, and not my favorite, but I understand why this is the method that they have landed on, because it's less likely to be abused and make for a horrible viewing experience for people watching YouTube. That is all the information we have. Now let's jump to some rants. I want to do something. I want to determine how much consistency of uploads has an impact on channel performance. Over the last couple of months, I have missed quite a few uploads, never intentional, but it just happens. And when I upload a video after a week-long break, I notice that video does slightly worse than prior videos. This could be because of a number of factors. Number one, maybe the video just sucks. Maybe it's a worse video and that's why fewer people are watching it. Number two, maybe the thumbnail and the title are bad, or maybe the information just isn't as widely interesting. Or three, maybe there is a direct correlation between upload consistency and video performance. I would like to develop some way to actually measure this or test this to see if there is some direct correlation between upload consistency and video performance. I know a lot of people are probably freaking out right about now if they look at their analytics saying, oh my gosh, everything's going down. That's summer. Summer is always the worst part of YouTube, the worst in terms of video views. So if you are a YouTuber and you're seeing this downturn thinking, oh my gosh, my sub growth is lower than ever, my views are lower than ever, that's every year. Summer, everybody's going outside. Finally some heat, finally some sun, let's go enjoy ourselves. Oh, it's summer vacation, we're gonna go outside. And then come fall, come winter, it'll come back. If you have any suggestions on how I could test or measure this, I would love to hear it, because there are so many variables in each upload that make it really difficult to measure if it's the video, if it's the timing of year, or whether it is the break. I'm never able to identify exactly what causes the downturn in performance from video to video. So if you're a YouTube studio, YouTube analytics guru, and you have suggestions, I would love to hear from you, because this is something that every YouTuber is terrified of. I need to miss a week because life, but that's going to kill my channel, so I will just instead stress myself to death and work myself to the bone, my fingers to the bone, so that I don't miss a week. That's what I want to do. Now we have an actual rant. The power of I don't care. You may be thinking, oh, he's going to go on a rant about politics. Nope. It has nothing to do with anything serious. I have found myself clicking on videos. I don't want to say getting manipulated, but getting drawn in by the thumbnail, the title, the drama, the whatevers. And then after a couple of minutes, I say, oh my God, I do not care. And then I click off the video and reclaim my time. It has been so freeing to adopt this. I don't care. Why would I care? Who cares? Not me. I'm moving on with my life. And it has saved me so much time, because it's incredibly easy to fall prey to this. Oh, what's this juicy drama? I'm going to watch this video about it, this 30-minute essay about it. 2 minutes in. Wait, I don't care. I don't care about this. I'm moving on with my life. I know for a lot of people this is incredibly obvious, but it's important to remember these social media sites, whether it be X, whether it be Facebook, Reddit, yes, YouTube even, they are designed to keep you on the platform as long as possible, to make you click on videos or scroll endlessly so they can show you more ads. So having the ability to snap out of it and say, what's going on? I've been brainwashed, and say, wait, I don't care. I'm going to go outside, is incredibly freeing. And if you're watching this podcast and this is your wake-up call, snap out of it. Do you actually care about this? If not, click off this video, go outside, touch grass, have some fun, get a deep breath of fresh, clean air. It's wonderful. Don't waste your time watching this if you don't care about it. I just wanted to share that because I have truly been enjoying that. Just snapping out, wait, I don't care about this. I'm moving on with my life. Just thought I'd share that. All right, now let's jump to what I've been testing. I am on the Shure SM27, a utilitarian, pretty good all-rounder, large diaphragm condenser microphone. My review of this is coming out on Tuesday because I had troubleshooting issues with the Heritage Audio, lost a couple of days, and had to push that off. So this is what I'm reviewing next, and I would say it's pretty good. It's not my favorite sounding microphone on every single sound source, but I thought it worked well on every single thing that I put it on. It has a high max SPL, I think 150 decibels with the pad engaged, low self-noise below 10 dBA. You get multiple high-pass filters, a good-sounding cardioid pattern. The one thing that I have an issue with is it's not the best at background noise rejection. So if you're in a completely untreated room or if you have a bunch of background noise going on, it's going to pick that up. Not the best at rejecting that. It's also not the smoothest microphone. This doesn't have the magical, soft, sweet top end of the KSM32, but it's also $300 cheaper, so it's half the price of the 32 or $650 cheaper than the KSM44A. So as far as an all-rounder, I think it's pretty good. I'm also not wearing headphones again. I'll discuss that in a second. But that is it for what I've been testing. Let's jump to what she had to say. First comment comes from Sound Speeds. He says, I guess I'm an oddball. Surprised? I usually fast forward and watch the music parts of your reviews if nothing else. I guess hearing someone talking to the back part of a microphone or 4 feet off of it like nobody in their right mind would do doesn't appeal to me. Alan, thank you very much for the comment. I really appreciate you being one of the select rare, oddball few who choose to watch the music portions of my video. If I was smart, I would cut out the music section and put it on Podcastage 2 or something so that I could maintain that higher watch time. But you gave me an excuse. I want to discuss why I do the tests that I do in my microphone reviews. The first test that I do is the polar pattern test. Why do I do this? I talk into the front of the microphone, the side of the microphone, and the back of the microphone so that we can hear the on-axis performance, the off-axis performance, the rejection, and the coloration, because as you go off-axis, the microphone's frequency response is going to change on the sides all the way around to the rear. Hearing how much is rejected from the sides and the rear is incredibly important if you're in an untreated space, or if you're in a really good space and you want to pick up some of that reverb, because the sound going into the sides and the rear is going to be impacted by that off-axis coloration. So yes, nobody is going to be talking into the rear of a microphone, or I guess most people who are using it correctly will not be, but it's important to know how it sounds back there or on the sides. The second test I do is a distance test. I get right on top of it. This is the proximity effect. That's important to know. How directional is it? That's going to impact how aggressive that proximity effect is. Then at 1 foot, 2 feet, and 4 feet, It's good to understand the reach of the microphone because you as a boom operator, Alan, know this better than anybody. Different microphones have different sensitivities at different distances. They're less or more sensitive at 1 foot, 2 foot, and 4 foot. So having that demo allows people to understand if their mom's talking to them 4 feet away, yelling at them, "Get off the gaming, Jimmy! Go ahead and clean your room!" Is it going to pick that up really clearly, or is it going to be less prominent because the microphone has a quick drop-off? That's why I do the distance test. I understand. Nobody in their right mind using a microphone is going to be 4 feet away. That is an improper use of a microphone. But by including that distance test, now people understand what kind of reach that microphone has, and they're able to compare that from video to video. For the untreated room test, this is a question I've received in the past as well. Why do you do that? Do you clap? Aren't we just comparing your untreated room to your treated room? If you're just watching that single video, yes, but that is intended to be not a control, but something that you can compare video to video on. So you can hear the SM27, SM7B, U87, you can hear how much of the reverb is rejected on those microphones in the treated space and the untreated space, and get a better understanding of how that's going to work in your untreated room. Because the ideal situation would be all of us have perfectly treated rooms that sound great. That is not the case. A lot of people have untreated rooms, so understanding how these microphones sound in rooms that don't have a bunch of acoustic paneling is important. Then we have the keyboard background noise test. That's pretty self-explanatory. A lot of people use mics sat at a desk, clickety-clacking on a keyboard. Knowing how much of that makes it into the microphone is just good information if that is the use case that you use a mic in. The resonance test, where I tap on the microphone, that is a little bit weird, but understanding how resonant a microphone is helps determine the susceptibility of that microphone to mechanical noise, making it into the recording. If a mic is super resonant, like the NW700, and you tap it and it rings like a bell, you know that you have to be incredibly gentle touching it. You need to know that the cable is not hanging down and you're not going to bump that, because that will make it into the recording and make the microphone ring as well. So understanding how dead a microphone's construction is really important, and knowing how soft you need to be with it, and knowing how delicate you need to handle it while you're actually recording. Then we have the shock test. This is the last one I have written down. A lot of people have their microphones on boom arms connected to their desk, where they're bumping the desk, doing all kinds of stuff like that. They're hand holding the microphone, moving it around all the time. So determining and demoing how much of that rumble is going to make it into the recording is really helpful. That's why I do all those tests. Music test, people use microphones on electric guitar, acoustic guitar, and singing, so that I don't need to explain that. If you're questioning my decision to include those, which I guess like 75% of the people who watch my videos do because they skip over it, then what are we doing here? That is why I do all the tests that I do in my microphone reviews. If there are other tests that would be beneficial, let me know. I'm always looking to and willing to improve my videos, make them more helpful, make them more complete. So if there's something that I am missing in my reviews, let me know. I'm happy to get even better. Thank you very much for the comment, Alan. I appreciate you. Next, we have 2 comments. The first one comes from Home Studio Academy. He says, completely agree with your stance on thumbnails. It makes or breaks a video for sure. You can spend 30 plus hours editing a video, but if the thumbnail sucks, no one will watch it. Great episode, Bandrew. And then Fred Overflow responded, that's why the YouTube goats don't even start filming before they have appealing titles and thumbnails. Nolan and Fred, thank you very much for the comments. I really appreciate the feedback. I find this idea of not even starting to film until you have appealing titles and thumbnails so incredibly interesting. This is something that I have never done, though. I have never gotten to that point, and I don't know if I should say that I hope I never get to that point, but it is just so interesting. I understand why people adopt this approach, because if you have a great video but a terrible thumbnail and title, nobody is going to watch it. And the better the title and thumbnail, the more people will click on it, so you'll get a higher view count, a higher click-through rate, and in turn, better performance in the algorithm, assuming your video delivers. I don't like that idea, though, because I kind of view it as making a video as justification for making a good title and thumbnail, if that makes sense. Because you're not going to make the video unless you have a great title and thumbnail. And to me, that seems backwards. If you're making a video, you should be making the video because you have a great video idea, not because you have a good title and thumbnail. Or maybe I'm just being naive and missing the point. Maybe you want to make the video because you have a great video idea, but then if you won't be able to get anybody to click on that video or watch that video because you can't come up with a catchy title or thumbnail, then you won't make it. So maybe I'm just being a bit unfair, maybe a bit naive, or maybe a bit jaded, but I prefer to have the exact opposite, maybe not the exact opposite approach, but an opposite approach. I want to make a video because I want to make that video, because I think I have a good idea for that video. I think that video will help people. Then after I've made that video, I focus on trying to make the best title and thumbnail that I can, or the most direct and informative title that I can for that video. And in many cases, that leads to a subpar title and a subpar thumbnail. But if I didn't make a video, if I chose not to make a video until I had that top tier title and thumbnail, chances are I would have maybe one podcast per month, maybe one review video per month, because that's not my mindset. I am not good at that side of things. I am good at coming up with, here is a format that I will stick to and make the exact same video 700 times. That's what I'm good at. Here is a thumbnail format that I will follow so that when somebody sees that format, they know it is my video and will click on it or choose not to click on it. I am not trying to mislead anybody. They know that silver whitish background with a microphone with red text, that is one of my videos. Like it or not, that is mine. You can click on it or you can move on. There's no big faces in it saying, oh my gosh, you won't believe what this microphone does. But maybe I should do that. I appreciate the comments and shedding light on that different approach to making videos. The GOATs, the greatest of all times, they do not start filming until they have that catchy title and thumbnail. Next, we have a comment from Diablo Monk. They say, knowing full well that I could look this up, I really have no idea what live monitoring would help me accomplish. I often teach Zoom classes and find it annoying to wear IEMs. I'm not going to put on headphones and look like a tool. I always thought people in radio recording industry wore headphones so that only they could hear a sound engineer or whatever talking to them. That this talking would not get airplay or would not make it on a take. Diablo Monk, thank you very much for the comment and the question. I really do appreciate it. Why do people wear headphones and why do they live monitor their microphones while they're recording? What benefit do they get? The reason that I wear headphones and live monitor the microphone that I'm recording is to ensure consistent microphone technique. What I mean, if I have headphones and I'm live monitoring and I start drifting away from the microphone, I can hear that I'm getting quieter and I can adjust. I can ensure that I am staying a consistent distance from the microphone. If I start moving too far on axis and saying a bunch of P words and popping the popsole of the popapo, then I am aware of that and I can adjust and move slightly off axis. If I start getting too close and then I start clipping the microphone, I can adjust and make sure that I stop doing that. This is all real-time information that is able to inform my behavior and my relationship and my distance and spacing against the microphone. That is why I live monitor and wear headphones. Now, I have been able to successfully, in my opinion, not wear headphones while I record. The reason I believe I'm able to do this is I have burned my microphone technique into my soul by making over 1,000 videos where I have that direct, immediate feedback. So my mic technique is pretty good. In the last episode, I believe it was, of the BSP, I did not wear headphones on the challenge of sound speeds. And after the episode came out, he said, yeah, I couldn't tell that you weren't wearing headphones. For most people who are not skilled or seasoned at talking into microphone, it's going to be very important, in my opinion, to have that real-time feedback, because that will help train them on their microphone technique. That will help them hear immediate feedback on, oh, as I get further away from the microphone and don't remain consistent, I get quieter. And then if I have a gate on, it causes all these issues. Oh, if I get too close to the microphone, now I'm clipping and distorting, and that sounds bad. Oh, if I talk directly into it, please pa-pa, pa-poo, pa-pee, pa-poo, and pop the microphone, that sounds bad. They have that real-time feedback, and upon iteration, they will be able to train themselves to avoid that behavior and develop good microphone technique. Maybe you don't need it. Maybe you are already a master at microphone technique, but I enjoy having that real-time feedback in my ears so that I know if I'm making mistakes, because I still do. 1,000 videos in, I will still get a bit too on axis and pop the microphone, or not check my levels properly and set it too high and clip, or just drift off microphone or just mumble as I turn around. That happens. So I still like doing it. I don't think wearing headphones on video makes you look like a tool. I don't think it makes you look stupid. I think it's perfectly fine. It's acceptable, especially if wearing the headphones and getting that live monitoring helps the audio sound better. That is the end goal of having all this gear that we have. Get the audio to sound as good as possible. And if wearing headphones helps you accomplish that, I don't think it makes you look like a tool. I think it makes you sound better. And in my book, you're not a tool. That makes you extra cool. And now I hate myself so much for rhyming. All right, that is it for what you had to say. Now we are jumping to the value for value section. This is a V for V podcast, which means I do not have ads. I do not put this behind a paywall. I just put the episodes out there, and if you get any value out of it, just return that value in whatever way that you deem appropriate, whether it be time, talent, or treasure. Today, we are celebrating the treasure. We got $4.99 US from Obscure Mics. He says, the black rim glasses also look cool in my opinion. Very Milo-like. Bark, thank you very much for the 5 USD, and thank you very much for making me feel better about my prior glasses choice, because looking back at those glasses, looking at photos of me in those glasses, I can't help but think, geez, you look stupid, Bandrew. That was a terrible decision. You do look like a mafia accountant cooking the books in those glasses. So hearing you say it made me look more, or the glasses were very Milo Ackerman-like, that is incredible. I'm even wearing my Descendants Everything Sucks dad baseball cap. That's why this is the 1990s Dad Says podcast. I appreciate that very much, though. That is the only super thanks we got this week. Very much appreciate it. If you enjoy this show without ads, if you enjoy this not being behind a paywall, it is by the support... not being behind a paywall, it is all thanks to the support of amazing people like Bark over at Obscure Mics. So thank you again, Bark. You are incredible. Now let us jump to the newest segment of this podcast, the weekly Weckomendation Algowithm. which I really think I need a bumper for so I don't have to say that every week because it makes me giggle every single time I say it. It's just so silly. This week we have a movie recommendation, and the movie would be UHF. I love this movie. It has been in my cart for maybe a year at this point because it was on Blu-ray. I didn't own it, and I really wanted it, but I thought, no, I'm gonna hold off because 4K must be coming. And maybe 6 months ago, 3 months ago, they announced the 4K release from Shout Factory, and I pre-ordered it, and it just came in a couple of weeks ago. This movie is pure insanity. It is so goofy. It is so over the top. Conan the Librarian. If you don't enjoy this podcast, I'm going to club this baby seal. It is absurdity on the highest order, and it is the most Weird Al movie that could ever exist because it stars Weird Al, and I believe it was written by Weird Al, so story checks out. If you haven't seen this and you're looking for just a goofy, absurd, fun time, watch it. It is so worth it, and on 4K it looks fantastic, and I need to rewatch it again. And that is one that I actually added to my collection. It's not one that I'm downsizing. I'm actually still focused on getting rid of all the hoarding and actually developing a collection. UHF belongs in there. I'm gonna club this baby, that advertisement. I'm Crazy Ernie, and I'm gonna club this baby seal so you can get a better deal. I was shocked. It's such a good movie. All right, that is gonna wrap up for this week's episode. I appreciate you coming by. I should have an episode next week, but then following that, I'm going to try to get episodes out, but I may miss 1 or 2 weeks because I have other engagements going on. Just a heads up there. I'll make sure I mention that next week as well. But thank you so much for coming by. I really do appreciate you. I love you. I know you could spend your time doing anything, and the fact that you choose to spend a minute with me watching or listening to this show really does mean the world to me, and I try not to take it for granted. I hope you had a good time. Thank you very much. I hope we have an amazing Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Next Sunday, I will be back. I will be talking at you. I love you. Bye-bye. Well, boop.
This has been a Geeks Rising production. Your executive producer is Bandrew Scott. For more information, head over to www.geeksrising.com.